headlines, people.
All right, we can start with the finder from my end. It says 66,000 vie for 37,290 positions in tomorrow's district level elections. Government Barari DV agreement is the best Ghana has ever signed, according to the minister, Mr. Jinapo. Calls for partisan district level elections resurface, and LOC unveils plans to brand Accra for 13th African Games, and BOG is rewarding winners of ECD Hackathon with 1 million CDs.
The new publisher leads with two stories. NPP NDC hijack assembly elections. Over 90% of candidates are party kingpins, and Ado Showboy throws out lame duck tag. My presidential powers end in 2025.
Okay, the Chronicle says 10,000 tons of Ghana's cocoa smuggled to Togo from Volta and Oti regions is a question that the Chronicle is asking LOC to brand Accra for the Africa Games, which will happen next year.
Republic Press. Akufo-Addo rejects lame duck tag. Asabi calls for truce in Asantua Dogma feud. Mahama promises to build petrochemical industry at Jomoro. Pay our money or be ready for Dumso. Gridco workers to ECG. EC to reduce number of voters to 500 per polling station. And Eastern region fatal accident at Amanase claims 1 life. Scores injured.
The Ghanaian publisher has a lot of the other stories. The LOC's plan to brand Accra is here. The district level elections are also here, but there's the angle of a survey that's done by the CEDA, and it says NDC MPP dominate assembly election. Now, Dr. Steve Mantiao is also here. He supports the minister's claim that the lithium deal is the best natural resource contract ever. And Matthew Poku Prempe, doctor, he's saying NPP youth critical in 2024 polls.
The Herald newspaper this morning. Finance Minister and cousin of the president create private GRA called SML using timber merchant. Bernard, this one is government announces new fees towards chip-embedded passports. Application moving from 100 Ghana cedis to 644 Ghana cedis. A state agent gets Ghana Airports Company job as MD. Ex-Cocoa research scientist cools court on fertilizer testing at Opuni Agongo trial. And NDC National Women's Wing confident of victory 2024.
The Inquisitor newspaper, finally from me. Unbroken and perturbed, OSP flies higher despite attempts to frustrate Kisi Ejabing. So that's that one. IGP locks up police officers in mess. And there's a picture of Dr. George Akuffo Dampare, the IGP, on the front page of the Inquisitor newspaper. Dr. Matthew Poku Prempe is also here, and he's energizing MPP Ashanti youth. And the people of Insama Duajiri, according to the Inquisitor, are charging for for Siam. Charge.
Yes.
This is interesting.
Next, I'm sure we'll see a lot of some of the MPs dominating some of the front.
Daily Guide here says, let our MP go solo. In Sawam chiefs are speaking. Economy responding to BOG policies. Addison is speaking. I'm not lame duck president. Anado Jabs Badwin, and Louisa Atta Ajiman is NHIA deputy CEO. These are stories making headlines.
What about BNFT?
Yeah, BNFT says economic fortunes will improve next year. Governor assures Ghana card to go digital 2024. Government should consider citizenship by investment to attract more FDI. And DEFTRACO launches groundbreaking development project.
CitiNewsroom.com, all set for district assembly elections on Tuesday. This is the EC. I'll improve fishing sector if elected president in 2024. This is Mahama. Meanwhile, over 3,000 nurses left Ghana for greener pastures have left since 2020.
How many?
Over 3,000 nurses have left Ghana since 2020 in the past 3 years. In other stories, we've not reinstated interdicted head teachers, GES says, and minority supports calls for revocation of LI regulating mining in forest reserves. All of those on Citi Newsroom. My John Online. President is responding to this lame duck thing is everywhere this morning. Also, Akoto Apau did not practice law to make money. Professor Techiwa Menu says so. And then we're also told that NDC has the men and women to fix Akufo-Addo's mess. This is Mahama speaking. And Star FM, their focus this morning, their backbone lame duck jibe is really the big story this morning. Meanwhile, the Minister for Local Government, Damboche, is projecting 50% voter turnout in district level elections. And then former Ghana Water Company staff and others jailed 8 years over iron pipe theft.
Wow.
You can't even understand. So, and most of the websites are talking about the Bagbin lame duck tag. I don't know where Bagbin said this and why the president is taking this so seriously. But this seems to be the biggest story in Ghana today. I mean, whether he says he's lame duck or not, I mean, fine, he can be whatever. How does that affect the food we eat tomorrow morning? You know, but it seems to be the preoccupation of all the newspapers.
Everywhere.
So you might as well just read one of it. So that
But, so I'm not lame duck president Nana Jabs Bagbin. This is Daily Guide. President Nana Akufo-Addo has taken a swipe at the Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin following his comments that he has become a lame duck president following the election of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as the New Patriotic Party presidential candidate. Rejecting the tag, President Akufo-Addo said he was still president till 2025. Quote, Speaker Bagbin says I'm a lame duck. Well, that is his language. I am still the president of the republic and I'll continue to do so until January 7, 2025, President Akufo-Addo said. Now, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, had asserted that the president was losing loyalty from key personalities in the NPP, including MPs, after the vice president became the flag bearer of the party. So this is the background. And the president was speaking to chiefs and residents of Nima in Accra during celebrations to commemorate the 20th anniversary of Alhaji Fall becoming the chief of Nima as Ni Futa.
Yes.
So that's where the president was speaking.
Let's come to the Finder.
Page 2 of the Finder, they are writing about the district level elections which will take place tomorrow. And it says about 66,000 persons are contesting positions in the district level elections across the country. Now, the EC fixed the dates for all local government elections in all districts except the Nkranza North and Nkranza South districts in the Bono East region. Now, according to the paper, 6,215 electoral areas, those are the areas where the action will be happening. 18,750 people will vie for 6,215 assembly member positions, and about almost 48,000 will vie for 31,000 unit committee positions. They also write about the elections being a stepping stone to bigger things, and they cite two examples. One, the current president, who was an assembly member in the Chimebaka constituency, and John Mahama, who was also an assembly member in the Bole Bamboy constituency. So you can get the Finder and find out all of that. They also provide a very interesting regional breakdown as to where a lot will be happening. The Ashanti region has the highest number of contestants, and then you have the Upper East region.
Meanwhile, the Minister for Local Government says he's expecting at least 50% turnout in the votes that are scheduled to take place tomorrow. Dambotwe has been speaking about the digital level elections.
But just in line with that, on page 4 of the Finder, Elvis Dako writes that calls for partisan district level elections resurface. So ahead of tomorrow's election, several people are saying that, you know what, maybe we should give it a partisan feel going forward. So that's on page 4 of the Finder.
All right, let me take you to a story that you expressed interest in. Over 3,000 nurses left Ghana or have left Ghana since 2020. This is a Ghana Health Service's own report. The Ghana Health Service has revealed that a total of 3,688, this is closer to 4,000 health personnel, left the country to seek greener pastures within the last 3 years. Now, the Health Service says the figure comprises professionals and critical caregivers. Now, some health professionals leaving the country have cited poor working conditions in Ghana as a reason for leaving their positions. The Ghana Health Service, as part of efforts to address the worrying concern, said it has revised and doubled study leave for unprofessional nurses and did that since 2021, and anticipates that by the middle of next year, most of these unprofessional nurses that took advantage would have qualified to fill the gap created. But the majority of the Chairman Sabonsu, while debating on the Health Ministry's report budget, said the government must consider an increment in remuneration to deal with the trend. So I think that's a good call. And talking about organized labor, let me just give you a quick story here. Clogsac's Northern region is asking for its mother body to declare a nationwide strike now. According to the Northern and region civil and local government staff, they submitted a petition to the NEC calling for an immediate nationwide industrial action against the government in response to perceived neglect of their conditions regarding or their concerns regarding poor conditions of service. Now, despite an MOU signed in August between the two parties, the government has failed to honor the agreement. So, Northern Regional Secretary Latif Abdul Yushau said the association would be compelled to make decisions at the regional level if the national NEC fails to take prompt action.
Bernard, government is announcing new fees towards high security passports.
Okay.
So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration has submitted a proposal to Parliament for the revision of the current fees for passport applications, seeking to increase them from 100 Ghana cedis to 644 Ghana cedis. The ministry responsible for issuing travel documents through passport offices nationwide argues that the existing application fees are insufficient to meet the expenses associated with procuring, processing, and issuing the travel document.
Okay.
Here's a quote. Speaking on the floor of Parliament on December 14, 2023, the Sector Minister Shelley Ayoko-Botchwey said the development will ensure the ministry can afford recurring losses in the printing of passport booklets for citizens. Ms. Botchwey said Ghanaians pay just about 100 cedis for a passport, yet to produce one passport booklet, it costs 400 cedis, which means that for every passport that an applicant acquires, the government has to put in 300 cedis. This is not sustainable. So if you're going to travel or you intend to travel and you cannot pay 400 cedis, then it is unfortunate because even tickets are now expensive.
Let's come to the Chronicle.
Well, the Chronicle, talks about cocoa smuggling. Page 3, and the story says Joseph Boahin Edu, CEO of the Ghana Cocoa Board, says farmers in Oti and Volta regions are smuggling almost every single cocoa bean they produce to the Republic of Togo. Now, from February to October this year, Cocoa Board purchased only 70 bags of cocoa beans from farmers in the two regions, despite having the potential to offer the country about 10,000 metric tons of cocoa. The disturbing development was disclosed as a presentation ceremony of items to Best Cocoa Coffee and Share Nut farmers in Accra last Thursday. And Mr. Joseph Edu also alleged that the two regions accounted for the overall shortfall in cocoa production in the country. And he said, quote, but for smuggling, we should now be doing about 850,000 metric tons.
There's a troubling story on citynewsroom.com. FreeSHS, prospectus and other expenses incurred by parents far outweigh government spending. This is a report by Africa Education Watch, and I just need to read some quick highlights of this. A study conducted by Africa Education Watch, an educational CSO, has revealed that the expense on prospectuses and other items by parents outweighs the cost incurred by the government and the FreeSHS program. Now, Africa Education Watch observed that the government's average spending per student for boarding is 1,147 cedis and 1,107 for day students. So there's only a 300 cedi. There's only a 140 cedi difference between how much government spends on boarders and day students.
Wow.
That cannot be right? Now the thing, so government spends 1,147 for boarders and 1,107 for day.
Wow.
So it's very close. Now, the education think tank stated that parents spend on average 2,477 on prospectuses for the awards in boarding schools and an additional 4,000 cedis on other personal items, including 60% on provisions, 10% on transportation, 10% on books, 10% on upkeep, and 10% on personal effects like toiletries, sanitary pads, and other things. Now, this is 2023. Mr. Divine Clare, Senior Program Officer of the Africa Education Watch, made the presentation during a conference on education financing in Accra. We'll discuss this during the show. But if you look at the report very carefully, there's a lot that needs to change in the funding mechanism for secondary education.
Bernard, pay our money or be ready for doom, so grade code workers to ECG. For last night in my neighborhood, we tasted a bit of the doom. So
welcome to my world.
Workers of the Ghana Grade Company, Gradeco, are threatening there will be a return to Doomso this Christmas if the financial status of the company is not improved with immediate effect, blaming Ghana's distribution company, the Electricity Company of Ghana, for the difficulties the company is facing. According to them, Gradeco appears not to be in good standing financially as a result of the non-functioning cash waterfall mechanism, causing considerable distress to the company's operations, and if a solution is not immediately found, the service delivery to customers may be affected.
Let's come back to Nathan. What do you have for us?
Well, the Ghanaian publisher, that's what I have. And NOC, so the local organizing committee for the Africa Games, the 13th Africa Games, is saying that there's a branding strategy to get people to know that the games are happening in Accra.
All right.
Now, Deputy COO of the LOC, Mr. Rex Broby, explained that the branding exercise would help to raise public awareness and attract sponsors for the games. Now, this was revealed at a media briefing, held at the LOC's Abelemkpe office.
All right.
Over.
So it's in March, right?
Yes, it's happening in March. Technically, it was supposed to have happened last year, but it was moved to March this year. So
there's a raft of political stories. Napo campaigning Ashanti. Mahama says he will improve the conditions of fisheries. Let's just do a few of those before I end with another story where the minority is kicking against mining in forest reserves.
Well, the Minister for Energy, Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh, has emphasized the critical importance of the youth in the upcoming 2024 elections for the NPP, and he underscored the need to energize the party's base, calling on the youth to lead a robust campaign in support of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the party's flag.
Former President Mahama says he will improve the fisheries sector if elected president, and interaction with fisher folk at Exim in the Western region as part of his building the Ghana We Want tour. The NDC flag bearer acknowledged concerns from the indigenes who claim that they do not get premix for fishing. So almost every election cycle, people talk about premix.
Yeah.
And somehow, I don't even know why the fishermen even believe. It's like...
But they said they've digitized the
that's what I
process.
understand. But it looks like the process has been fraught with more kinds of problems now. So the people were complaining to him that they still don't get the premix. And in response, he criticized the government and blamed it for collapsing the work of artisanal fishers. And then he says that they would fix the premix thing. That's what keeps happening every election.
In fact, he's been saying that he will build petrochemical industry at Jomoro. So former President John Dramani Mahama has promised the people of Jomoro in the Western region that the next NDC government will build a petrochemical industry in their locality to boost economic activities. That, he said, formed part of measures to expand the oil and gas industry. Mr. Mahama, flag bearer of the NDC for 2024 general election, was addressing the chiefs and people of Jewa Walf in the Jomoro municipality as part of his 2-day visit to the region that building the Ghana.
There's a story here that I thought is related to something that's come up on social media. So there's this letter that has been supposedly leaked, written by the lands minister, asking for preparation of a master plan for the development of Achimota forest. All right, and it's been leaked it's been shared quite a bit, and we'll discuss that later on during the show. But in Parliament on Friday, the minority supported calls for the revocation of the LI regulating mining in forest reserves. Now, this is designed to protect the country's forest reserves. A group of civil society organizations have petitioned Parliament and the President to revoke the LI 2462, because since its passage a year ago, 8 mining leases have been issued in the country's forest reserves. The group added that 15 mining lease applications to mine in forest reserves are also at various stages of approval, which could undermine the efforts in forest management and the fight against climate change. Now, the ranking member of the Lands Committee, Dr. Rashid Popo, insists that Parliament needs to be fully informed about the LI, and therefore they want a revocation. And this was a letter written by 15 CSOs. So it's an interesting story. It's hidden somewhere online, but we found it. And I think we should keep an eye on that development.
But at BNFT, governor is speaking here. He says economic fortunes will improve next year. So that's what he has said. And below that story, Ghana card to go digital next year.
All right.
So Moses Kakrabeding, he's the CEO of Margins ID Group, and he is saying that by next year, Ghana will launch a digital version of the Universal National ID, the Ghana card, to complement the physical one. According to him, just like the e-passport profile on the Ghana card, the electronic ID profile is also ready on the Ghana card and will be activated next year. Now, we are learning the Ghana card has helped eliminate leakage of 1.5 billion US dollars. So Moses Bading said by developing the Ghana card, Margins has saved the state over 1.5 billion, which was what over 20 state institutions spent collecting data from individuals who access services.
I had wanted you to also elaborate on the governors.
Yes. So the
I
bank.
don't know where it is. Like, says more. Are they going to pay us more money so we can prepare ourselves?
That would not be bad, because the Christmas
bonus.
It make hard.
Bonus says a neighbor.
Now, the Bank of Ghana BOG Governor Dr. Ernest Addison has expressed confidence regarding the economy's outlook going into 2024. Now, highlighting his optimism, the governor said he expects, quote, significant improvement in the operating environment for business next year. So this is the next year matter. Speaking at the BOG's end-of-year cocktail event, Dr. Addison affirmed the policy mix under IMF-supported post-COVID-19 program for economic growth, PCG PEG, is steadily yielding affirmative results. So he noted that inflation was at a modest 12.7% in December 2021, and the extraordinary inflation witnessed in 2022 should not be used to pass judgment.
Meanwhile, the Herald has a story on the GRE where he says that there's a private company called SML, Strategic Mobilization Limited, and according to the story, explosive revelations have emerged, solidifying concerns surrounding the finance minister's establishment of what appears to be a private GRA through strategic mobilization revenue. Now, this arrangement, we are told, has spanned the past 7 years, and it has raised a lot of concern within the GRA space, where they are helping to do revenue assurance in other sectors like petroleum, and it set a lot of tongues wagging. That story is on the front page as well. We'll leave it here. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the review.